Live transcription is enabled. And if you just heard Silicon Sally, she just told you that we are being recorded. So we got that one out of the way. If you put us, if you're joined us by phone, I don't think many people do, but still bears repeating, please don't place us on the hold because it will actually, we'll hear the hold music and it'll underscore the entire PMCG with your hold music. So if you've got a question or comment to add, you can raise your hand or enter it in chat. The steering committee is standing by to look at the chat and they can cue us to stop and consider that question. So I've already handled that second check, so let's move on. So our host, our host today is the steering committee. So, and I always get nervous when I do this because I'm paying attention to the presentation, not the members that are here with us today. So I'm going to try to rattle them all off. I've got Jen Birch, Carol, I've got Alex. I thought I saw Michael. We have Lisa and John kind of as our members emeritus, if you will. And I don't know if Christina's online. But I know for a fact that I'm online. So I think that's everyone, right, Jen?
Yep, we got them here.
Excellent. I did it. All right. So focusing back to this meeting, more of the meeting, less of me. Today's agenda, we're going to talk about the Educause 2023 highlights and run through some potential topics for 2024. We've got a plan already in place to line up presentations for the next year. So that'll be exciting. Moving on. Educause,
diving right in.
Oh, we are really. Check this out.
We
Educause
are,
2023
yeah.
highlights. If I remember correctly, June, I'm sorry, Jen, I told you I was tired.
Yes, Bob.
If I remember correctly, we got the next set of slides divided by steering committee member. And I'll add this. I don't think it needs to be said, but this is just the steering committee talking about what we thought was really cool about the Educause conference. That's not to say that we the only ones that need to be talking about this. So if you've got presentations or things that you want to share that you thought were really stellar, please bring those up. Or even if you agree with what someone else has said, that's all part of the discussion here. So let's move in.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to be really anticlimactic here. You said what we found was cool. Actually, I feel like came away feeling like, wow, this is going to be really fun for the next few years here, maybe indefinitely. I don't know. But my biggest takeaways were just that it's a growing problem, even for very wealthy schools, to try and get more done with less resources and a lot of people leaving higher ed, whether it's because they were eligible for retirement or they're leaving for higher paying jobs. But trying to make sure that we figure out how to get the most efficiencies and maximize all of our stuff that we have with reducing budgets and, just constant shuffling. And it's all getting put right back into the hands of project managers and people who are sort of experts at juggling all the multiple competing priorities and whatnot. So I don't think we're going to be bored anytime soon, but it's going to be super interesting to see how we can try and share across both the smaller institutions and the big institutions, best practices and ways that we can try and learn from each other and make this a little bit easier. That was my big hope out of that. But we had a lot of separate conversations, and I know Michael had some stuff to share that's kind of related to it too. But big takeaway was just it's not going anywhere. This is the way that things are. And I work for the University of Michigan, and everybody joked around during my pre-conference workshop that we have tons of money. I said, yeah, it doesn't always solve all the problems though. So we're all dealing with very similar challenges. And a lot of it is, hey, just because that's your title doesn't mean that that's only what you're going to do. We're all wearing a lot of hats and doing a lot of work all at the same time. So, yeah, that was my big takeaway. All right, Michael, I think you're next here. So maybe yours is a
Yes.
little bit more exciting and happy.
Yeah, maybe. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Michael Shishadi. I'm the Director of Project Management for the New School. This has been the first time I've attended an Educause conference, so my focus was geared towards the challenges and themes that we're currently navigating in our own projects. the PMO, and really at the institution wide. So I was drawn to some sessions such as promoting IT as a strategic asset, IT project governance, resource management, and change management in projects. My key takeaways from these sessions were really around four major themes, which was really, again, project governance, resource management, alignment of change management practices to projects, and then for the facilitation of active dialogue in projects. So really from the project governance standpoint, I really got some insights on how other institutions are structuring their project collection, gathering, and prioritization processes, involving regular calls for departmental project submissions and really collaborative reviewing with department heads to finalize these priorities. Some organizations also had employed other techniques such as hierarchical decision-making bodies to guide prioritization before presenting to the broader committee. I thought that was a very interesting way of doing that type of governance work. From the resource management perspective, I got a deeper understanding of what constitutes as a balanced project portfolio from small to large projects, really shedding light on general resource capacity. There were discussions on harnessing student workforce, automated processes, and devising metric reports to pinpoint project deviations for refining effort estimations. Finally, one of the last components was the alignment of change management in projects. This was hosted by our very own PMCG community group, which covered an in-depth deep dive into the pro-sci, ADCAR, or awareness, desire, knowledge, ability, reinforcement, change model, management methodology, overlaying on top of a waterfall project plan. I thought that was a great technique, and we're looking towards really leveraging that in the future for us. In addition, with my role in the steering committee, this allowed me to partake in open house sessions, focusing on project management techniques. Notably, there were intriguing strategies from facilitating active dialogue during project meetings, such as leveraging roundtable discussions and using planning poker for anonymous voting feedback. Overall, I think the themes of the session were around doing better at, as Jen said, maximizing efficiency in operations, as a majority of the institutions are working with less, such as resourcing and budgeting. The conference was a treasure trove for information, techniques, and an opportunity for me to meet colleagues in that space. So I was very grateful for that. This concludes my slide, so I'm going to pass it on to Alex.
Thank you, Michael. And so, yes, just like Michael, it was my first time to go to Educause. So I was definitely overwhelmed in terms of like all that was going on and just the amount of people there and the amount of activity. So my takeaway was really geared behind just the networking aspect of like meeting all of y'all basically. And so that's why my picture on the slide is showing how I had met Jen and Carol, because just being able to put a face to the name was definitely a great thing. And being able to meet everyone else that came up to our poster session and just hearing some of your concerns and some of the things that you are trying to figure out at your own institutions was just, it was good to hear that from other people, just to know that we're all kind of working on the same goals and outcomes. And so one thing I did want to point out as a takeaway that I enjoyed was the keynote from Dr. Tracy McMillan Cottom. And she touched on a lot of things that I was working towards in terms of like diversity and finances of projects and how do we work within education and tackle so many different goals that all of our end users want to solve, but also maintain clarity and being able to keep goals met based on some constraints that we may all find due to the nature of our industry. But she said one thing that really touched me, and I wanted to just say it here in the group. And it was about how an idea is not instigated, but intervened. And so I know, and some of us, we do a lot of analysis, and we have to ask those tough questions. And it was just very reassuring to hear that there's a positive viewpoint on that in regards to how we find the details to our projects. And it's not necessarily to cause roadblocks or red tape, but it is to help people overall, like at the end of the day. And then she talked a lot about AI as well. And, that was a big theme within probably not only Educause, but throughout all of IT. And one thing that she said in the keynote about AI is that we should not let AI lead the rhetoric of how we make the decisions of how to implement it within our institutions. So just being able to do the research, understand how AI works at an industry level as well as in a local level is definitely a goal that IT departments should be working towards. And then my last takeaway, I put something on there about Chicago L and the goal. So I'm kind of like a philosophical type person. So when I go to like a conference, I am here for the sessions, but I'm also here to kind of step away from the work that I do locally in my own IT department. And so I noticed as I was waiting for the subway, there was a lot of similarities between the goal, which is by Eli Goldratt, and it's about the theory of constraints. And I just wanted to put this to the group. If you're ever working on your projects and you feel like there's a lot of process that I'm doing, and there's an easier way to get the process done just by jumping ahead of your frameworks and your and maybe some of your process. Just remember that even though it may go slow, it does provide you long-term consistency. And the subway was showing that to me. It was just an analogy that I saw. And then also just remember that flexibility can also help you reach the destination. So what I was seeing from that was that if you were to take the subway and hit each stop, yes, it would take a long time, but sometimes maybe some stops would be blocked, and being able to cross to another station would allow me to still get to the overall location. So again, tying that back to project management, if you do have a lot of structure and you find that you don't have ways to get to the end, just remember to also keep that flexibility component as well. And so that was my takeaways from Educause. And it looks like the next person up is Carol. So I'm going to throw the baton to her.
Thanks, Alex. This wasn't my first conference, and I think Educause conference are getting bigger and better every year. And, Chicago is just a great town to visit. So it really was a wonderful conference. My takeaway from the conference was really about the changing workforce. We are living in a unique time of multi-generational groups in the workforce. There's the boomers, those people from like age 77 to 59, Gen X, about 58 to 43, the millennials, also known as Gen Y, they're about 42 to 37, and then Gen Z, like the 26 to 11-year-olds. I kind of focused on Gen Z because my son is a Gen Z, and that group is just hard to wrap your head around. And those are the individuals that are new to the workforce and coming in. There's also a new generation coming up. It's called Generation Alpha. That is from 10 years old all the way up to the unborn kids up to 2025. That's really unique. If you have time, there's some good upcoming research on that. But really, I focus on communication in my role. So for me, understanding the workforce as a whole is to, how we can support each other in the workforce and how we need to understand each group. So, like the boomers, the older generation, they're those post-World War II people that kind of like the tough, pull yourself up from the bootstraps, don't complain because I had it harder than you generation. We all know some of those. The Gen X, those fiercely independent, resourceful, latchkey kids. Millennials, they actually got their name because they reached adulthood in the new millennium. They are considered the first digital generation who saw the rise of the internet. They were also the group that was affected by the Great Recession, right at about 2008 when the subprime mortgage crisis happened. This group, unfortunately, their earning power has been affected by that. So their earning potential is lower than previous generations. So they've got some different challenges there, and they know it. Gen Z, they are digital natives. It's screen time from a very early age. They lived through the pandemic, and overall, our Gen Z group coming into our workforce, they're well-educated, stressed, and depressed. So what's going on with Gen Z? So you know, again, there are digital natives. They have screen time anytime and all the time. It is their primary access to a social network. They're anxious. They have a broad awareness of mental health issues, which I think kind of makes them anxious. And generally, in the workforce, they struggle with ambiguity. They want answers. Um, they they want their answers given to them rather than figuring it out themselves. On a positive side, though, they do work for social change and they embrace individuality, which kind of drives their sense of belonging. And then also in the workplace, they want things like flexibility. They want mentorship. They need internships. They need the opportunity to work together because, you know, overall, the pandemic really affected this group. So they have some social immaturity and a lot of anxiety. But, you know, overall, I think with the sessions that I did attend, as well as the keynote on the closing day, you know, the message is, you know, don't overlook the differences, but embrace the similarities. No one fits into one generational box. It's it's so it's like don't label each other because of our age, and our shared experiences make us what we are. And you know, looking at another thing that I heard in the conference with these sessions is, you know, these different, you know, boomer, Gen X, Y, and Z, that's a very American thing. So those shared experiences make us who we are. So just kind of be aware of that. Um, and, you know, like, regardless, the message was generationally, we need to give each other patience and grace. And it's all about the understanding of our differences and not trying to change each other. So Jen, do I pass it back over to you?
No, I'm gonna move it on to Ed, but that's actually really
Oh.
insightful.
Mhm.
I did not realize that the generation groups were an American sort of thing to do.
Yeah, and it's because of the shared experience.
Interesting.
Mhm.
All right, Ed.
Yeah, I kind of want to comment on Carol's presentation or just cover these three things and then get back to it. I'll say this, I did put an article in there, someone sent me into the chat from EAB. And they're talking about a Gen P, and I swear, Carol, the characteristics you described of Gen Z are like one for one match. And so I'm kind of questioning this article, but I put it in there for others to read and form their own viewpoints there. So I attended the online conference, and I don't know, I guess just real quick show of hands of people that attended the online conference only. And you just pop the raise hand button there, see if anything pops up on the participant. There's one, I see. Yeah, so the online conference is a mix of on-demand content. And if you were able to join in sessions at the time that they were offering, they did have targeted live, or they called it semi-live presentations. So as the presentation was rolling, it was a recorded presentation, but the presenters were on the side in kind of the chat room, ready to answer questions live. So kind of an interesting experience. There were 3 presentations that popped out to me. I just enjoyed the broadband presentation by Claire Evans. I'm the type of person that likes to go to the conferences and just catch a presentation that I can just sit back and not necessarily have to take notes and just listen and soak in the information. And that's what this one was. It was just being open and hearing, you know, all the contributions that women have made in the internet and the IT industry. So it was really fascinating. Some of it I knew, but some of it I didn't. So that was kind of cool. And then the Com Hacker, this was a really good one. It opened my eyes on how to communicate and maybe strategies, more often tactics on how communicating with students and stakeholders as you're rolling out implementations. And Chaz from Notre Dame had some really creative ways of doing that. So very interesting presentation. And then AI is all the buzz. We hear it all the time. So I watched this one and just enjoyed listening to Dr. Sasha's kind of breakdown of how AI works, what it does, its pros and cons, and just to pick up some extra information. I play with ChatGPT all the time. I have it review my original content, like for charters and things and memos and stuff. Or I said memos, I can't believe I said that. Emails, just for tone, especially for some sensitive and high stakes projects. And so I was just curious where AI has been and where it's going. So that was fascinating. So those are my top 3 from the online conference. And by the
Funny you
way,
say that.
yeah,
I was
by
gonna say
the
the
way,
AI thing, ChatGPT, I use the tone review all the time if I have to be stern with someone.
yep. And I actually use it as a better research, but not a better, as a research tool. It's better than Google search because I'll say break down. If you're managing these really complicated IT projects and you start getting all these different words about application stacks and database stacks and all, I'm familiar with that, but it changes and morphs over time. So I'll ask ChatGPT, tell me about how these things are configured today. And so I'll get non-ad sponsored content almost all the time. I have to validate it, of course, because ChatGPT is learning from others. But yeah,
Yeah, you can even get a work breakdown structure out of it.
I'm gonna play with that, see what I can come up with. I will say before I close out my piece here is if you attend, if you attended the online conference, it's available till tomorrow. And I think most of you must have known this already because I hope they said this in the face-to-face, but I believe if you attended the face-to-face conference, you can go back into the online portal and check out some of those online centric presentations.
Yep, you can.
Okay, cool. I didn't speak in error. Christina, you have your hand up.
I do. I did also want to ask Carol a question, or just related to the topic if anybody else wants to chime in. But Carol, with that topic, one of the things I've been really interested in lately is how we work through those communication challenges through the different generations. So as you're starting to work with a project team, getting everybody on the same page as far as what communication tools you're using, where the project team is going to do their work, especially, you know, if they're remote and things like that. So how do you get people who are maybe typically using different tools to do their work and communicate all in the same place? Effectively.
You know what, the focus in the different presentations was really about communication. You know, the way I'm going to communicate to a boomer is going to be different than the way I would communicate to someone in Gen Z. And you know, the further along you go on the spectrum, the more different the groups are going to be. It's all about communicating, like how to get them on one platform. Gosh, I don't know. But the way I work is I will communicate in different modes. You know, like a boomer, I might call them. Gen Z, I'm going to chat them. I think it's up to us, if we're leading a project team, that we need to communicate in different ways. I don't think there's any like one singular best practice way to communicate, which makes it more challenging for us. But I don't have a good answer for you there, Christine. I think it's just being flexible and meeting the needs of your audience.
Yeah, and one of the things that I did very recently was I put together a survey for my project team. So as we were starting to work together, I said, where do you like to have this kind of communication? You know, if we're outside of meetings, where do you want to know? How do you want to find out about updates? Like, how do you want to be notified? So I sent the survey to the whole team and I learned more about their preferences so that I could kind of adjust my plan. And then I was really upfront from the beginning, from the kickoff meeting, of here are my expectations for where you're going to ask the project team questions and where you're going to store files and all of that, so that just right from the bat, those things were discussed and talked about. So hopefully I just did all of that. So I'll have to report back on how well that worked and where we had some challenges, but I'm hoping that was helpful.
Does anyone else have any techniques or thoughts about that one? I know my MO for managing things has always been if there is no requirement for a specific tool or a specific system, I leave it to the teams to hammer out and agree on what they're going to use. Because at the end of the day, I'm really more concerned about the end goal and getting things done. I don't need to manage the details. It's not, I'm too busy to be in the details. So as long as the team can meet those, like you said, we set sort of expectations and the team agrees on what they're going to use, I can be as hands off as possible and just check in to get what I need as needed or have somebody send it to me if I can get that to happen too. But it's gonna, a lot of times I have some folks that just refuse to make updates, but they're totally on board with sending me a quick Slack message. I'm like, works for me. I don't care as long as I get what I need. Ed, I think you had your hand up. Oh, you are muted, Ed.
And it's sitting there flashing at me. You're muted and you're still talking, but you're muted. A comment on those generational categories, and really this, if you step back to diversity, equity, and inclusion, there was a presentation I watched where it just talked about how just be careful of categories because we as humans do a really good job of classifying things. We love to put things into buckets because it helps make life easier for us. But the problem with that is as we use those in social context, it actually creates what the presenter called a relational laziness. And so just be careful about, I think this somebody said already, you don't want to just because they're in that age group doesn't mean they have those traits. So they may be a Gen Z, but they may not be operating as one. So and that's caused me to think a lot about people, not just age, but ethnicities, other beliefs and values. Is just be careful of those preconceptions and that tendency to classify things.
I want to add to that. I want to tell a story. My son came home from school a few years back, and he said one of his friends got in really big trouble. And I said, "Okay, well, what happened, honey?" And he said, "Well, let's call her Miss Smith, they have it's not a whiteboard, it's a display board that their classroom used to use, and she was having trouble getting it to work." And one of the kids said, "Okay, boomer." Now, she was not a boomer. I think she was like 35 years old. So she got very offended, and this friend got in a lot of trouble. But just the assumption that if you're having trouble with a technical anything, any kind of technology, oh, you're a boomer, you don't know what you're doing. That just struck me. So you're right. You can't put people into boxes. It's just more of an awareness of the different generations and generally how they are.
I can't stop fixating on Kit's emoji overlay.
It's only weird when it starts talking.
Oh my goodness. All right, did anybody else attend Educause this year, either online? I saw a couple hands with the online question, but anyone else? There was Michael, you were there in person because I know we met up at the ITSM get together.
Indeed. Hi, everyone. Yeah, I was there, and I mean, there was a lot of great takeaways from it that you all have talked about. I just have to say that besides the awesome poster sessions, where I was able to interact with a lot of people, it was just the networking and being able to build those connections, which are my lasting takeaway. So I don't know if that's helpful, but it for me, just being able to run into folks and now I have a community of people that I can talk to here or regularly. So great experience.
Awesome. Anybody else attend? Well, Michael, what you just said was one of the first things that I always recommend to people. I said, Educause is a whirlwind, but if you can do it, your biggest benefit's going to be the networking. It's not that the sessions aren't useful, but honestly, I feel like there's something to be said about being amongst your peers and being able to really truly commiserate or, you know, share tips and just get to know the other people that are dealing with similar challenges. In a project management space, and Ed might laugh at this one, you know, we talk about our local PMI chapters, and they tend to be all fixed around whatever the biggest industry is in that area, right? And so my space is all automotive. They're all automotive and manufacturing. And it's different. And it's a different world. So being able to be amongst my peers in higher education space, it's very reminds me that I'm not alone and there's a lot that we can all learn from each other. So it's a fun way to network with people.
I just want to build on that for a second, Jen. And
Yeah.
when you talk about the networking, I think there's 2 or 3 things that come to mind. One is that, you know, that the sessions are really helpful, but they sort of just set the table for the conversations.
Mhm.
And that's where I find the power, or I found the power. I think the second thing is specific to Educause was I was able to go in and say, I'm going to have a PM conversation here with, or I'm going to meet people who have an affinity towards PM. And then I could pick a session and say, oh, here's people that are involved in AI or change management. And so really, if I want to make contacts with people that are really doing work in a specific area, I can find them through that venue. And so again, it was just really you know, I took away a lot more than I expected I would because of that.
Yeah. I forgot to mention 2 other takeaways from that whole Educause event. Alex is a sleeper presentation provider. Like he blows it out of the park. He's amazing as a presenter. And I didn't expect it just because he is so quiet and more observant when he's in our meetings. So awesome presenter. And Patty is another one of our steering committee members who's not here. Her as well. Fantastic presenter. So I got a couple people in our group that we can try and, you know, bring out of the woodwork and say, do some more of that stuff and share your awesomeness. So I didn't put that on the slides, but Alex, seriously, you've heard me say it already once, but wow, that's pretty awesome. All right. Anybody else have anything that they got from Educause? I see Tony, you put something in the chat here about the PMI Global Conference. That was just the week after, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a couple of weeks ago in Atlanta.
Okay.
But a lot of the same themes and messages. So it's interesting that the conferences are covering some of the same topics.
Well, we all know AI is going to be the big thing here for the foreseeable future. It's evolving faster than I can keep up with. I actually splurged and I'm paying the $20 a month for another version of ChatGPT. And it's got all of the options for the image creation, running analytics, trying to run data through it and being able to summarize it and interpret it for you. I mean, it's kind of mind-boggling, all the things that I've been playing around with it on right now. So yeah, when I did the work breakdown structure the one day, Ed, I was like, it's actually not that far off. It had a couple of things that I was like, yeah, I would not do that, or I might change that, but it was pretty darn close.
Yeah, so did you do that with the licensed version or the one that's free, the work breakdown structure?
I did do it with the licensed version. It's only that it has a little bit more recent data, so I can't imagine that it's all that much better on a work breakdown structure, but when I tried it once before with the free version, I got a little less accuracy. It was like it kind of hiccuped, and it actually did 2 sections that were almost the same exact thing, just different verbiage. But the second one seems to do it a little bit more accurately.
I asked it once to diagram an environment by just giving it some descriptors on application and database tiers, and it actually did a good job. It used ASCII characters, so if you can imagine using a very old terminal, you know, dashes and vertical, I think you call them hash bars. It was a throwback to what looked like old computing, but it was a diagram. It had, you know, the boxes and lines. It was really cool.
Yep, I got a feeling once more people get comfortable with it, we're going to see a lot of us playing around with it. We've actually been encouraged a couple of times to use it for even things like our annual performance review, just for fun to see what it comes up with. Like we're being encouraged to dabble with it and figure out what the different use cases are. So it's a fun little space to be in right now. All right. Well, Ed, we just had a little bit of some planning sessions here last week. And Lisa, it's been a while since folks have seen Lisa's face on the group here, but we have her back and she was able to give us some of her insight and share some of the background of how we've done these meetings in the past. So she and Ed and I started pulling together ideas of stuff that we've talked about, and then Alex has contributed. I know Alex and Michael, you still have survey results from our group that we want to try and look through as well and see where we can get some of those topics out. But I want to open the floor to people here on the call and just say, is there anything else that you're hoping that we can really wrangle and provide some content for you this upcoming year? Even if it's AI and you just want to play with creating fun images, or how you can make Kit's emoji person here do something really fun. Does it sing? Does it?
Only if I sing.
So Jen, I do have some of the results too, if from the survey.
Ooh, you do. I see that. So what do you have on there?
Yeah, I wanted to just let everyone know that you know, the results that y'all submitted through the survey was definitely helpful, and we have a lot of results related to Agile, service transition, release management. One that was really interesting was generative AI applications in project management as a possible topic to discuss.
Okay.
There's a couple of survey results that are related to just the PMP certification as well, and just having like an avenue to discuss, you know, how to best learn and get the certifications. And then resource workload tracking practices for a project intake cycle and how to prioritize things based on ChatGPT. So AI is coming up in several different pieces of the data. And then one that I saw at the very end was just about how the PM role is changing, you know, within organizational change management. And is there a possibility of how to show the fusion of Agile and Waterfall, you know, to create the accountability of without having authority over the project?
Great.
So yes, if you heard your suggestion come up during that where I just read off, you know, thank you once again, and that's a thumbs up to that person that's in the room right now.
What Alex also reported on that one of the top two questions was just trying to get a preference for recording our sessions and continuing to use YouTube as a tool to post those. And so we don't have to go up to those questions at all, but the resounding result was yes, please do record these as appropriate, and we'll put them out there on YouTube to share. People are using the recordings to reference and to refer other colleagues to. So and so we'll keep them there as publicly listed. The only caveat I'm going to put on it, I think it's a good caveat, is when we do informal coffee talks, which we do about 2 or 3 of those a year, I'm going to recommend that we don't record those just to keep participation up on those, because it's kind of hard to talk about the things that we want to talk about in coffee talk without either putting, sometimes people talk about issues related to projects and what's going on in their organization where they're working, and it just creates that free space for people to share in case they accidentally drop a name or something like that. I'd like to keep those coffee talks open that way. So that's the approach. So thank you, Alex, for putting together that survey. We got some good data. And Michael as well, I believe he was helping with that.
So these are pretty open feedback. Would it be helpful to folks if we set out some sort of a poll that allowed you to rank them in terms of what was most important to you? Or do you want us to just go ahead and say, you know what, there's some themes in here. Let's just look at those and see if we can try to provide some content on that. And we are always open to other suggestions as well. Don't all speak at once.
I think looking at the themes themselves and then just kind of looking at the items that fit within those can't talk within those themes would probably be a good way to start. I'm a little bit of a different situation. I'm the director of mentorship for the Pittsburgh chapter, and my students do have an assigned mentor every spring when I teach the class. But the one thing that, and I don't know, I'm happy to team up with other educators or even some of you or some of each. There are some good resources on the educator site. One is a case study that I use every year, but unfortunately, there are not, it's missing any kind of resources, such as templates or even an instructor guide or anything like that to prepare our students, because my goal in my class is to have them take the CAPM once they finish my class. So that area is lacking a bit. So, you know, that would be my interest. And I'm sure not really many other people's interests, because they're working in the field. But that would be my interest, to work with some people maybe at corporate or whatever at headquarters, to build that resource up for you.
You know what's interesting is that does kind of remind me about an idea that's floated around several times. Lisa and John had talked about this when they were co-chairs. Ed brought it up again more recently. We've been trying for a while now to engage with the PMI to create something that is a bit more higher education focused and to have more officially recognized tools and templates and things that are, you know, tailored to higher ed. And we just haven't gotten any traction with them on a official path or curriculum or group.
Yeah.
But I suspect we could get some approval or backing for providing a course or templates or things, because those are things that they would end up just being able to put in their repository and sort of resell it.
Right.
I
mean, to create, you know, it's like you're going through like all the different diagrams, right? Well, let's do the SWOT analysis. Let's do a brainstorming diagram. Let's do that. I mean, we can just open Visio and get those, or how many diagramming tools are out there. But the problem is that from an academic standpoint, it's really about having sample answers that you can use to help guide the students in their journey through that class and through the problem. And the case study needs to be written a little bit better, or even include multiple case studies out there that educators can choose from and have materials that go with. So I've had to make all of that stuff on my own, and And I tweak it every single year because, I'll think of something like, oh, I should have added this, or, why don't we do this time? Or this isn't very effective, or it's not, why should I do a communication breakdown plan? I mean,
Yeah.
it's so, there's other valuable stuff I could be doing with them. So I think that's something that, as membership has decreased across the country, and I'm sure in other areas of the world, it's a good way to get college seniors excited about being part of PMI, being interested in going into project management, and that will only help rebuild the numbers of members that we have.
Yeah, I think, and I can't speak for all of us on the call, but I think most people that I cross paths with, they didn't choose project management as a place that they were going to fall into in their career. It's like we all just kind of happened into it.
Yeah.
Where now when I meet some of the college students that they're my interns or I'm mentoring, they're actually looking at it as a career path now.
Yes.
And
Yeah. And honestly, until they had my class, then it's our capstone course for our information systems major. And they're like, God, I wish I would have learned half of this stuff when I was a freshman. Would have been so helpful in regard to like time management and all these different tools, and working in teams, and so yeah. And obviously I teach them Microsoft Teams, and they're thrilled of all the resources that I introduced them to, but yet it's like, but that I do every year. I have, a handful of students. I'm like, you can't don't think you're done with this class. This class does fulfill the hours that you need. But don't think that right after class you can go sign up and take it. Like, no, you have to, look at the outline that they provide once you're a member, and study for at least 6 weeks and then go take it. And I haven't heard any student come back and say I had to take it twice.
Well, that's good news.
Yes. So, I mean, there are things that you can do to get a younger membership base. And that's what I think is one of the problems out there, is that we don't have. I mean, look at it, us all on the call. You can scroll through everybody's pictures. It's like,
don't call me a boomer.
But we're all not we all just didn't graduate from high school yesterday.
Right.
So
I will take it with the steering committee and talk about it again some more, because there's definitely some interest in trying to formalize some of the materials and have them be things that we can offer that really encourages and supports project management growth. And
yeah.
I think the PMI can be a part of that, and if they don't,
well, and I'm happy to go as somebody who can represent academia, so to speak, and what we could do for them.
I think that would be a fantastic idea.
I would be more than happy to do that. I've been teaching for almost 24 years now. At the end of the spring semester, it'll be 24 years. So I've kind of, been doing this a while. And, I'd be happy to be an advocate for assisting. And of course, anybody that's on the call, if you're interested in that topic, please, I'll put in the chat, I'll put my email address. feel free to reach out.
We will definitely do that. Send us your info so we can keep in contact. We know who you are and where to find you anyway, but I think that would be helpful for us to stay on top of this one. There's stuff we can do.
That's fantastic. Thank you. And I didn't want to
But
take that much time. I'm sorry I did. I'll be quiet so other people can talk.
well, I'm hoping other people will talk. We are losing a few folks. I'm guessing that there's, yeah, I mean, we've got down about almost half of what we had on here, but if anyone else has any ideas or thoughts about the kind of content or programming you want us to provide this next calendar year, start a conversation about it in the Connect or send it to one of us on the steering committee. But I think, we'll take a first pass. We've got an awesome steering committee. We'll take a first pass at looking at the reviews of the survey and trying to figure out some themes. And if we need any insight or we just want to run some things past you, we will run some sort of discussion going on the Connect platform and get your feedback on it. All right, Ed, we
It's
ready to wrap this up here?
about to ask, is it time to wrap up? Yeah, let's do
It is
that.
time to wrap up.
I think,
And I
do we
appreciate
have,
you listening to me. Thank you.
I appreciate you chiming in. Thank you.
yeah,
Sure.
Jen, do we have the slide that shows the next set of
We
meetings? If you know
forgot to
what?
put our slide with the
Right.
dates in there, didn't we?
So what we
Mhm.
can say though, this is, and I know you said this in the post earlier today, but this is our last meeting for 2023. So unless like a special needs meeting comes up, like some of our postings on Connect can turn into very hot topics by the number of people that respond. I know last year we did a special panel on one topic. I forget what it was. I want to say it was resource management, but I could be wrong there. But the point is, this is our last official meeting for 2023. So we hope you wrap up your holiday season well, however you celebrate it, and we'll see you back next year. Exciting stuff. Thank you.
Everyone
Thank you
enjoy some
all.
time off.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks all.
Yep. Take care.
Happy holidays.